Hello, fight fans. Thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, UFC champion Alex Pereira speaks out on past alcohol addiction. Moving on, Ben Askren thinks Jon Jones has dirt on UFC CEO Dana White. Next, coach Eric Nicksick says PFL star Francis Ngannou is in a good place right now following tragic loss. Moving on, Daniel Cormier cautions Belal Muhammad amidst intensifying Kamaru Usman beef. Lastly, Eric Nicksick is optimistic that there's a chance Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones could happen. UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira has discussed his past alcohol addiction in an effort to help others. Pereira has become one of the UFC's biggest stars, but life wasn't always glamorous for Alex. The Brazilian bruiser struggled with alcohol consumption and admits he didn't have the support system that he has now to make better decisions. Now that Pereira has overcome that addiction, he is sharing his story to aid those who are going through his past demons. Alex Pereira and his mentor, former UFC champion Glover, recently spoke to young people in Connecticut who are battling addiction. The session was filmed and posted on Pereira's official YouTube channel. Alex Pereira revealed that he began struggling with alcohol use at a very young age. Pereira said it was difficult for him to gain access to the resources he needed to overcome his addiction. Well, since I was 12 years old, I've always had a tendency to drink alcohol. It was very difficult for me. Every year that passed, it was increasing. There was a time when I decided to stop. Now, where I lived, I didn't have the knowledge of medical help or a group of people like what is happening here. Glover helped translate for Pereira, who was happy to reveal that he defeated those inner demons. Here is what he said. So after 4 years with the battle, going back and forth with alcohol, and after 4 years, he's finally got it. Ben Askren feels there may be something behind the scenes when it comes to Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Many MMA fans have expressed dismay over UFC CEO Dana White sticking to his guns on booking Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title. This is because Tom Aspinall is the current interim UFC heavyweight champion, and fans believe he's the more exciting fight for Jon Jones. Not only has White doubled down on the matchup, but he's been adamant about Jon Jones deserving the top pound-for-pound spot despite his inactivity. During an episode of Funky and the Champ, Ben Askren shared his belief that Jon Jones may have something on Dana White given how lenient he's been on not booking the Tom Aspinall fight. Here is what he said. I almost feel like maybe Jon's got some dirt on Dana or something because Dana generally would not put up with this type of behavior. So the fact that Jon is being, I don't know if allowed is the right term, but Dana's playing along and letting him and Stipe fight. Stipe is going to be close to 4 years since his last fight by the time they ever fight. You have this young interim champion, he's a beast, just smashes people, and the fact that they won't put them in there together, and then there's this good chance that Jon beats Stipe and then says, I'm done, I'm gone. And then you never get to see Jones versus Aspinall. White has said that having Aspinall as a backup for the Jon versus Stipe fight sounds like a good idea. Tom remains adamant about feeling he should simply replace Stipe given that Stipe hasn't fought since 2021 and it was a knockout loss to Francis Ngannou. Eric Nicksick, the coach of Francis Ngannou, believes the former UFC heavyweight champion is in a good place after healing from the tragic death of his son. Ngannou publicly admitted to struggling with the loss of his son and even said retirement was a possibility. The good news is that Francis Ngannou seems to have been able to find himself in a good mental space. It's a positive sign for Ngannou, and Nicksick couldn't be happier. During an interview, Eric Nicksick discussed how Francis Ngannou was able to get back in the spirit of MMA following such a tragedy. Here is what he said. That type of tragedy, that type of loss, you just never know how somebody's gonna rebound. But getting him back in the room, getting him back in the gym kind of reinvigorated those MMA juices again, and he wanted to fight. So I'm happy for him, man. It seems like he's in a good place right now. Nicksick said that the biggest priority was simply giving Ngannou a helping hand in the healing process. I think that was the main focus of all of us, was getting him back in the room and just try to help him heal. That was really it. If in that time, in that process, he felt comfortable that he wanted to fight again, then so be it. Really, for us, it was just more about his psyche and getting our friend back and taking care of him. We're talking about the most resilient person I've ever met. This is just something I think that for whatever reason, God, fate, the universe just puts these hurdles in front of this man, and we've seen what he's capable of doing. Francis Ngannou is set to fight Renan Ferreira on a PFL pay-per-view superfight card on October 19th. UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier feels Belal Muhammad might be biting off more than he can chew when it comes to his growing beef with Kamaru Usman. Muhammad earned the UFC welterweight title by defeating Leon Edwards last month at UFC 304. The win capped off a remarkable streak in the welterweight division, including wins over Gilbert Burns and Stephen Thompson. Usman, who hasn't fought since a middleweight loss to Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 294, has teased a return to 170 pounds to make another title run. He lost back-to-back fights to Edwards to bring his legendary title reign to an abrupt halt. In recent days, Muhammad and Usman have traded barbs on social media, and the bad blood between them has been intensifying. Cormier feels Muhammad should chill out when it comes to luring Usman into a fight. In a recent upload to his YouTube channel, Cormier reacted to the brewing of bad blood between Muhammad and Usman. Here is what he said. This is one of those situations where Belal Muhammad is doing exactly what you'd expect from your champions, but you gotta be careful unless that's exactly what you want. Either he wants to fight Kamaru Usman or he's just chirping, because by doing what he's doing right now, he might have to fight Kamaru Usman, because when you bring a champion back into play who at this point isn't really in contention, because of the fights with Leon Edwards and Khamzat Chimaev, the powers that be are going, well, he did go up to 185 on 10 days notice to save a card and fought the guy that's in a #1 contender match, very close, and if it was a 5-round fight, many people thought he was going to win. Maybe he deserves a chance to fight this guy. Muhammad is expected to face undefeated contender Shavkat Rakhmonov for his first title defense. But Usman remains firmly in the mix, along with an Edwards rematch and a clash with the surging Ian Gary. Francis Ngannou's head coach Eric Nicksick believes there's still a chance that he could go on to battle Jon Jones. Once upon a time, there was great desire from fans to see Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones. Unfortunately, it never quite came to fruition. Now Jones is the UFC heavyweight champion. Ngannou, meanwhile, is getting ready to begin a new venture with PFL. For whatever reason, the UFC couldn't get to a point where they made this fight possible. Negotiations fell through, and Ngannou opted to test himself in professional boxing. Eric Nicksick, who has been by Ngannou's side for many years now, gave his thoughts on the possibility of him battling Jones in a cross-promotional super fight. Here is what he said. That is, yes, you want to game plan, you want to compete, you want to try to put your best camp forward and your best fighter. And that's obviously Francis Ngannou. I'm very optimistic when it comes to these things, and I think money talks, and you get the right people behind you. Obviously, we have a good relationship with Saudi, and I know Dana and UFC are working well with Saudi, so money talks. No disrespect to Dana, but he has a boss as well. So somebody tells, hey man, this is a lot of money, we're taking this. Set your ego aside. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.